Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. I'm out here at Clearview today, just checking out a site for a client that's looking at buying a crappy old house, knocking the house down, and then building one house on there. So it's not actually a subdivision, but still many of the things you have to consider whether you're doing a subdivision or not. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take you through as I'm having a look at this property and just give you some feedback on things you need to look out for if you're looking at buying a house and building. So come and have a bit of a look here. I'm going to flick you around so you can see what it is all about. So you can see here it is just probably the picture is the best example because it's all trees all the way along the whole front of the house. So you can see here that it's a 15.24 metre frontage. So if we were trying to subdivide, that might be a little bit tight, but if this client's not actually going to subdivide, so it's not such a big deal. So he's just going to knock down that house there and put one house on top and build his dream home. So things we need to think about is we need to think about services, so water and gas and electricity and all that sort of stuff. We can see there's got a power pole off to the right hand side there, so at least we know that's away from the front of the block. We've got one street tree in the front, which might be an issue if you were going to look at subdividing and you're working out where to put in driveways. But for this example, we're just building one house, so we've got plenty of room to fit our driveways on there. The other thing to notice here, we can actually see that the house is higher than the block. So that's a good thing as far as site and drainage goes, as far as water getting into the road, because we know water only goes downhill. So that's something that we know is not going to be such an issue for us. And the size of this block here, 697 square meters, that's a huge block in my world. I'm dealing with like 200 square meter blocks, so we can easily fit a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, whatever we wanted on there. So I wouldn't be so concerned about what we can actually fit on there. Something to notice here, you can see there's a brand new house that's being built next door. See, they've done some little retaining walls along here. So that could be a good thing, the fact they've done the retaining walls. The issue, my concern about this is that they're quite small retaining walls. And if you actually look at where the existing house is right here, you can see that even where the height of that existing house is, it actually is a little bit higher than where the brand new house is next door. So my concern is if we get our engineer to redesign how the house is going to sit, or the engineering, the site and drainage plans, all that sort of stuff, we might find that the house actually ends up being higher than where the neighbour's house is. So that will mean we end up having to build another retaining wall along the side of that block there. So again, that might just add some extra costs along the way, so it is something that's worth considering. I'm going to take you next door. We're going to do exactly the same thing next door and see what they've done. And so we've got another brand new house next door. And if you have a look here, you can really clearly see how much higher that house is next door than my existing house there. So at the moment, they're using the fence as a bit of a retaining wall. And in reality, you're not really meant to using fences as retaining walls, so that might be a bit of a problem for us. If we looked over the neighbour's yard, which I won't do that for you, but if I already have, the soil is just sitting right up against that fence there. So that's not such a good thing, because eventually the fence will just rust and the whole thing will just collapse. So probably, whoever did this thing probably should have put a retaining wall along the side there, and that would have solved that problem. As far as the house goes, we know we're going to knock it down, so not such a big deal, so I don't really care too much about that. I'm just going to give you a quick look behind. Something else we might want to think about is trees. So if we have a quick look over the fence here, it's all locked away so we can't really get in there. But there's a few trees in there. They're not particularly huge. In Adelaide, when we're dealing with fences, then in Adelaide when we're dealing with trees, it's about 2 meters is probably pretty big. When they get to 3 meters, then we're in a bit of trouble. And so most of those trees there are probably 2 meters or less. So it's not really going to be a big deal for us. So we can probably knock all those trees down. Definitely something to consider is trees. You don't want to be arguing with the council as far as that's concerned. So that's pretty much it. So this particular block, pretty easy as far as knocking the house down and putting one house on top because it's such a huge block. 15-metre frontage, plenty of room to do whatever you want to do. So really for us, it's the retaining walls on the left-hand side might be a problem. Retaining walls on the right-hand side might be a problem. The trees shouldn't be much of a big deal. So we don't really have too many issues to deal with. Just need to make sure we're taking the retaining walls into account when we're quoting up the house. So hopefully that's been useful if you're out looking around. Hopefully you learned some stuff. If you've got any comments, feel free to put a comment in the comment box. Feel free to click like if you liked what I had to say. If you don't, that's fine too. Still click on a like. And I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And obviously share it out to your friends. Hopefully they get some value as well. So thanks for joining me. If you've got any questions, feel free to post in the comment box. Bye for now.